You know, career interruptions, for the longest time, we saw them as a failure, right? A real black mark on your record. But in the world we live in now, they're basically the new normal. So, what if an interruption isn't really an ending? What if it's an invitation, a chance to completely redesign your life from the ground up? All right, let's get into the story of transformation.
And that's where this whole story really starts, with the raw, painful shock of something you were absolutely sure would never happen to you. You'd survived mergers, acquisitions. You were the one who was going to make it through anything. You were indispensable. Until, suddenly, you weren't. And that feeling, like getting knocked off a ladder without warning, that's where this journey begins. So, let's talk about that first time, when your career just completely goes off script. It's so much more than losing a paycheck, isn't it? It feels like you're losing a huge chunk of who you are. It's this brutal collision with reality you honestly thought you were immune to. So what happens next? Well, for a lot of us, it's a pretty familiar pattern. Your first reaction is to jump right back on the horse. You create these meticulous logs of every call, every resume sent, every interview. But after months of grinding it out, you're just hitting dead ends. And that's when the real weight of it all crashes down. The depression, the anxiety, the sleepless nights, you're spiraling. And all that conventional career advice is just not helping. And this whole experience leads to maybe one of the most exhausting parts of any career break, the performance. You know, that pressure you feel from everyone to look like you've got it all together, to be productive and positive? It forces us to put on a mask. Just look at this. The difference between the story we tell people and what's really going on, it's huge. On the outside, you're telling everyone, oh yeah, I'm just making good use of the time, exploring a pivot. But the reality underneath? It's arguments about money, the gut-wrenching stress of cashing out investments just to stay afloat, and this crushing feeling of failure and desperation. Honestly, the sheer energy it takes to keep that mask on, it's just draining.
And this quote, man, it just hits you right in the gut. It really shows you what's at stake here. It's not just about your job. It's about your family, your sense of self-worth, and your mental health. This is the raw, unfiltered truth that's hiding behind all those "I'm doing great" updates. It's the part we almost never talk about.
But here's the thing, you can't live with that kind of hidden pain forever. It's just not sustainable. Eventually, you get to this fork in the road. It's that moment where the pain of just staying stuck becomes way worse than the fear of trying something new. And this is what you could call the man in the mirror moment. That forced pause, as awful as it feels at the time, actually gives you the space to ask the big questions you're way too busy to even think about when you're working. The author of our source material realized he'd become a total workaholic, trading precious time with his family for the next promotion. Who was that person? Was this really the life he wanted? Asking these hard questions is the very first step to move from just reacting to a crisis to intentionally designing your life. So to get through this, you need a new compass, right? For the author, it boiled down to these three simple but really powerful promises to himself. Be authentic, stay in the present instead of constantly worrying about the future, and focus on how you can contribute. This becomes a really practical framework for anyone who finds himself at that same kind of crossroads. And what's holding all of those promises together? It's your core values. Think of them like your personal North Star. When you're totally lost in a sea of uncertainty, they're the only thing that can reliably point you back to a path that's actually yours. So all this soul-searching and reflection, it actually leads to a really practical toolkit. He calls it the Goldilocks Framework. And yeah, it's just like the story of Goldilocks and the Three Bears. It's all about finding what's just right for you, not what's too big or too small, but what fits your life perfectly. And look, a framework like this isn't just a nice idea, it's becoming essential. This isn't just one person's bad luck. With over 176,000 tech workers laid off in 2025 alone, career interruptions are a systemic issue. The old rules of sticking with one company for life are gone. We all need a new playbook for how to be resilient. Okay, so the heart of this framework is this idea of the five wealths. See, most of us are taught to chase one thing, financial wealth. But a truly rich life, it's about a balance of all five of these things. Our time, our social connections, our mental well-being, our physical health, and yes, our finances too. So what do we actually mean by these? Let's break it down. Time wealth is having real control over your own schedule. Social wealth is having those relationships that are there for you no matter what your job title is. Mental wealth means your work actually aligns with who you are. Physical wealth is working at a pace that doesn't burn you out. and financial wealth, notice it's not about having the most money. It's about defining what enough really looks like for you. This whole approach gives you a much healthier way to measure a successful career than just looking at your bank account. So what's the point of all this? What's the real payoff for shifting your mindset like this? Well, it's a total recalibration. It completely changes how you experience these career breaks, transforming them from a crisis into a manageable process.
Just check out this evolution. The first layoff, total disbelief and anger. By the third one, it's bargaining and despair. But fast forward to the fifth or more, it's calm. It's acceptance. The author knew the warning signs, he was prepared financially and emotionally, and he saw it as a time to recalibrate, not a crisis. That's what building resilience looks like over time.
And that right there is the big takeaway. In today's world of work, you're probably not going to avoid interruptions. The real goal is to build the skill to metabolize them, to process them and use them to your advantage. That is the new definition of career security. You know, a career interruption forces you to slow down, whether you want to or not. And as this quote says, in that quiet, you don't just notice the scenery you've been flying past. You finally get a chance to ask yourself, was I even going in the right direction to begin with? So we're going to leave you with this one question to think about. After everything we've talked about, take a second and really ask yourself, is your career serving your life across all 5 wealths? Or has it started to consume it? The answer might just be your own personal fork in the road.